Have you ever stopped what you were doing just to watch your dog and asked yourself, what on earth is he trying to do? Maybe he's staring at nothing in the corner of the room, completely still, with that kind of intensity that makes you turn your head to see if there's actually something there. Or running frantically all over the house right after a bath, as if he had been possessed by some unknown force. Or, in a completely serious and methodical way, kicking the grass backward after doing his business, without even looking at what he's kicking. For most pet owners, these behaviors are just dog things, silly little moments, funny little habits that we record to post online and get a few laughs. We laugh, tell him to stop, or simply ignore it and go on with whatever we were doing. But what if I told you that each of these movements, no matter how bizarre or meaningless they may seem, is actually a fragment of a language, an ancient, sophisticated language that he is using every single day to try to communicate with you? If you've ever found any of these behaviors curious and never knew how to explain them, share this video with another pet owner, because what comes next is going to make a lot of things suddenly make sense. 1. The Zoomies. When he starts running around for no apparent reason. You're sitting on the couch, everything is quiet, and out of nowhere, without any warning, your dog suddenly tears through the house as if his life depended on it, running in circles, bumping into walls, sliding across the floor with that expression that blends madness and pure happiness. This has a name. Scientists call it FAR, AP, frenetic random activity period. And far from being just purposeless pent-up energy, this burst is actually a tool for nervous system regulation. Think of it this way. Your dog has spent hours sleeping, processing stimuli, and holding back energy while you were working or watching a show. That buildup needs to be released somehow. The Zoomie is the reset button. It's the canine equivalent of you letting out a scream after a stressful day, except he does it with his entire body. And when it happens right after a bath, that's very specific. For a dog, bath time is an olfactorily disturbing experience. The scent he spent hours building on his own body, his scent, which for him means identity and security, has been erased. The post-bath Zoomies are a frantic attempt to roll around on any available surface and recover his own smell. He's not celebrating being clean. He's undoing it. Did that surprise you? Leave a like. It's the simplest way to say, that makes sense. 2. Kicking the grass after doing his business. It looks like cleaning, but it's not. When your dog finishes urinating or defecating and starts kicking the ground with his back paws, he is not trying to cover up what he did. He is activating something far more sophisticated, the sweat glands located between the paw pads. These glands produce a unique individual scent, like a chemical signature. By kicking the ground, he is spreading that scent, leaving behind a visual and olfactory message that other dogs will read like a calling card. It's not submission, it's the opposite. It's confidence. It's him saying, I was here, this space is marked. This behavior is ancestral, and it says a lot about the animal's emotional state. More self-assured dogs do this more often, and in a more exaggerated way. Anxious or insecure dogs rarely do it. The next time you see him kicking, don't tell him to stop. He's signing his own name. 3. Following you all the way to the bathroom. This is one of the behaviors that divides opinions the most. Half of people think it's adorable. The other half thinks it's invasive. But almost no one understands what is really happening. Your dog does not follow you to the bathroom because he lacks a sense of privacy. He follows you because, in his eyes, you are about to become vulnerable. In the pack logic that still governs the canine nervous system, no one goes to the bathroom alone. The enclosed environment, the physical position of the body, the temporary inability to react quickly, all of this activates a specific protective instinct in the dog. He simply cannot just lie down and ignore it. He is standing guard. It is the equivalent of a security guard staying outside a room to make sure the boss is not caught off guard. Do you let him come in or do you make him stay outside? Comment below. I'm curious to know how it works in your home. 4. Tilting his head when you speak. No canine behavior is more photographed or more misunderstood than this one. When your dog tilts his head while listening to you speak, he's not just being cute, although it's impossible to deny that he is. He is making an active perceptual adjustment. His ears are repositioning to capture the sound nuances of your voice more accurately. His visual field is being reorganized to take in your full facial expression. Animal behavior research shows that dogs are capable of recognizing hundreds of words and, even more impressively, distinguishing the emotional intent behind your tone of voice, regardless of the actual words used. When he tilts his head, he is simultaneously processing what you said, how you said it, and what your face is telling him about how you feel. He is trying to understand you completely, not just the words, the entire intention. 5. Yawning in moments of tension. This is the most underestimated behavior on the list, and perhaps the most important one to understand. When your dog yawns in a tense situation, during a scolding, at the vet, or when there's an argument at home, he is not bored. He is not ignoring you. He is using what ethologists call a calming signal. The yawn, in this context, is communication. It is him saying, I'm uncomfortable, I don't want this to escalate, please relax. It is an attempt to slow the situation down, to send a message that he is not a threat, that he does not want conflict, that he would rather the emotional temperature come down. Understanding this changes everything, because when you scold your dog and he yawns, the instinctive response is to think he doesn't care. But what he is actually doing is the opposite. He is actively trying to make peace. 6. The guilty look. You come home, something is destroyed on the floor, and your dog is there with that look. Head down, ears back, wide eyes looking up. For years, we've called this the guilty face. We assumed he knows he did something wrong, but a famous study by researcher Alexandra Horowitz from Barnard College tested exactly this, and the results were surprising. Dogs showed the guilty look regardless of whether they had actually done something wrong. What triggered the expression was not awareness of the mistake. It was the owner's tone of voice and body posture. He is not feeling guilt. He is feeling you. He is reading your anger, your disappointment, the tension in your body, and responding with submission to try to reduce the conflict. It is a social survival behavior. It is him saying, I can tell you're upset, I'm not a threat, please don't push me out of the group. For him, the social bond is more important than any notion of right or wrong. 7. Eating grass. Most people think dogs eat grass when they're sick, and sometimes that's true, but it's rarely the whole story. Dogs eat grass for multiple reasons, and science still debates which one is the most predominant. One of the most widely accepted hypotheses is the search for fiber. When the diet is unbalanced, instinct leads the animal to supplement with vegetation. Another is the purging hypothesis. The texture of the grass can induce vomiting when there is gastric discomfort. But there is a third reason, less talked about: sensory pleasure. For some dogs, grass simply has a smell and texture they enjoy. It's the equivalent of you chewing on something crunchy even when you're not hungry. What really matters is not whether he eats grass, it's how he eats it. If it's casual and selective, he's probably fine. If it's compulsive and in large amounts, followed by vomiting or agitation, it's worth a visit to the vet. 8. Licking the paws compulsively. This behavior is the canine equivalent of biting your nails. When a dog keeps licking their paws repeatedly, especially between the toes, it could be allergies, it could be an injury, but in many cases, it's anxiety. The act of licking releases endorphins. It is a mechanism of emotional self-regulation that the animal uses to calm itself when the level of stress goes beyond what it can process in any other way. If you've noticed that your dog does this more often in certain situations, when the routine changes, when there are loud noises, or when you are away for too long, they are giving you a signal, not of physical pain, of emotional overload. 9. Rubbing against the floor after a bath. Beyond the Zoomies. Beyond the frantic running, many dogs make a point of rubbing themselves specifically on the carpet, the couch, or the grass right after a bath. With method, with purpose. We've already talked about the instinct to recover their own scent, but there is another element here: real physical discomfort. Depending on the shampoo and the way the bath was done, the skin may be left with a feeling of tightness or mild irritation. The rubbing is a way to relieve that. It is also a behavior of territorial reaffirmation. The dog has returned to their environment without their own scent. The rubbing reconnects the body to the space. He is not being ungrateful. He is coming back home within himself. 10. Standing still and staring at nothing. And here we come to the behavior that probably brought you here. That moment when your dog stops absolutely everything, fixes his eyes on a specific spot, the wall, the corner, the ceiling, and stays completely still. Sometimes with the fur slightly raised, sometimes with a low, tense bark. We've already talked in another video about everything he may be picking up in that moment. The ultrasonic sounds inside the walls, the pressure changes, the sense that his nose registers and yours cannot even begin to imagine. But it's worth reinforcing here. He does not have a neurological problem. He is not seeing ghosts. He is being the radar he was designed to be. And when he looks at you in the middle of that entire trance, checking whether you noticed, he is doing exactly what evolution shaped him to do: protect you from what you cannot see. If this video helped you understand your dog in a way you didn't expect, leave a like. That's what helps this content reach more pet owners who also deserve to understand the animal that chose to live with them. At the end of this journey, the way you look at your companion will never be the same again. What once seemed like mere quirks or unexplained habits now transforms into a bridge of emotional connection that was there all along, just waiting for you to learn how to cross it. Understanding these 10 behaviors means recognizing something that goes far beyond simple curiosity about animals. It means recognizing that your dog is a being endowed with vibrant emotional intelligence, using his body and actions to communicate what he feels in a human world that, most of the time, forgets to listen. He doesn't bark for no reason. He doesn't run for no reason. He doesn't look at you for no reason. Every gesture carries weight. Every behavior has a root. And now that you know this, every everyday moment with him gains a whole new dimension. This understanding is what transforms the pet owner into a true safe harbor, not only in the emotional sense, but in the deepest sense. A dog who feels understood is a dog who is calmer, more confident, more whole. You are not just learning curiosities, you are building a more honest bond. The silence of verbal communication is filled by the richness of everything he does. And now that you have the code, no gesture will go unnoticed without you realizing what he is trying to say. Deciphering this language is not an intellectual exercise, it is an act of love. If you have a pet owner in your life who thinks a dog is just a dog, send this video to them, not as criticism, as a gift. Because sometimes all that's missing is someone to show what was always there.